The night I caught her was cold, even for April. I remember the way the pine trees looked under the moonlight, the air sharp as I stepped out of the car and stared at the glow coming from that distant estate window. But we're not there yet. That came much later. First, you should know how we got here. My name is Marcus. I'm 38. I live in Boulder, Colorado, and I work as a lead designer at an urban architecture firm. I'm the kind of guy who prefers quiet hikes over happy hours, who'd rather spend a Saturday night roasting vegetables at home than navigating a bar line. I've always leaned introverted, grounded, I guess you'd say. That's probably why it hit me so hard when my wife, Liana, chose chaos over calm. I met Liana just after college, back when I landed my first job at an architecture firm in Denver. I was 23, fresh out of CU Boulder, still adjusting to cubicles and overpriced lunch spots. She worked in marketing, 2 floors up. I noticed her first in the elevator, loud laugh, big sunglasses, always with a coffee in one hand and a phone in the other. She didn't notice me until I accidentally held the elevator door too long, and she made a joke about me being the polite type that causes traffic. That was Liana, always sharp, always performing. We started dating the way people do in their early 20s, impulsively, clumsily. She dragged me into her world of loud dinners, fast conversations, and spontaneous weekend trips to places like Vegas or Santa Fe. I didn't hate it, not at first. It was new. She was new. She made me feel like I was missing out on something, and that she could be the one to show me what I'd been too scared to try. We moved in together after a year, and somewhere between IKEA arguments and late-night takeout, I started to realize how different we were. I liked routine. She liked surprises. I liked camping. She liked rooftop bars. And then there was the retreat incident. The firm hosted an annual summer retreat in Breckenridge. Cabins, hot tubs, grilled food. The usual. That night, I stayed sober. Liana didn't. I don't think she realized how fast she was drinking those spiked lemonades. One minute she was laughing by the fire, and the next, she was topless in the hot tub trying to dance to a song no one was playing. It wasn't funny. Not to her, not to me. The next morning she cried in the car all the way back. Said she was mortified. Said it wasn't who she wanted to be. That night, we had our first real conversation about drinking. We agreed. She could still go to parties, hang out with friends, do her social thing. But the alcohol had to go. She promised. Not because I asked. Because she wanted to. That's what she told me. And for a while, she kept her word. But promises like that, they come with expiration dates. Liana and I got married in the fall of 2019. It was small, just 30 people in a rustic lodge near Netherland, surrounded by pines and early golden leaves. She wore a simple ivory dress with open sleeves and no veil. Said she didn't want to be covered on the best day of her life. I wore the same gray suit I'd worn at 2 other weddings that year. Neither of us cared about show. For that one day, it really felt like we were choosing the same kind of life. Then the world shut down. When the pandemic hit, everything slowed to a crawl. At first, it was terrifying, like it was for everyone. But inside our little apartment with mountain views and nowhere to go, we found something real. We cooked elaborate meals with whatever we could get. We did puzzles and watched old movies. I taught her how to use a circular saw for the shelves she wanted in the hallway, and she taught me yoga from an app she liked. We laughed more in those first 6 months than we had in the year before. I thought maybe we had finally reached a balance, her spark with my steadiness. She even joked once, "You're like the calm in the middle of the storm. I don't know how I'd survive this without you." And I believed her. But as the world reopened in 2021, slowly, so did Liana. I could feel it, the stirrings of restlessness. It started with harmless stuff, Saturday morning dance classes, group hikes, book clubs. Then it shifted into things like moon circle healing nights and silent yoga raves in downtown warehouses. By spring 2022, she had a new group of friends, Tasha, Marley, and Bree, women who drank matcha in wine glasses and wore silk robes for the vibe. They were the kind of people who said things like honoring the divine feminine and posted filtered selfies under words like alignment. I didn't mind the social stuff, not at first. I knew she needed more than what I gave her. That was okay. But then came the bachelorette retreat. It was in May 2022. A weekend getaway in Arizona for Marley's upcoming wedding. Desert villas, DJs, themed dinners, all of it. Liana said it would be relaxed. Nothing crazy. I wished her a good time and stayed home to finish a work project. The first night she was gone, I opened Instagram just before bed. I shouldn't have. The videos started rolling in around midnight. Tag stories, live feeds, boomerangs. I remember the first one. Liana in a sheer champagne-colored dress, dancing with her arms above her head, hair flying wild. Then another one. This time she was laughing, clearly drunk, holding onto some guy's arm as they stumbled toward a fire pit. Then one of her lying on a couch, eyes half closed, a red cup in hand. Another guy next to her rubbing her thigh, while someone shouted, "Goddess energy only." My chest tightened. My mind refused to believe it. When she came home Sunday evening, she dropped her bag by the door and walked straight to the bedroom. No hug. No "missed you." Just silence. I followed her in. "Liana, what happened at that party?" I asked, my voice steady. She froze. Her eyes flicked to mine, already glassy. I didn't mean to drink. I really didn't. But everyone else was. And I felt stupid saying no. I got swept up. She cried. Full-on, breathless sobs. Told me she regretted it the second she started. Swore she didn't sleep with anyone. Said the videos looked worse than they were. That nothing happened beyond dancing and poor choices. I believed her. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I did. We spent that night talking, really talking. It was the first time since our early days that we stayed up past 2 a.m. Not because we were angry, but because we were trying. I told her how hard it was to see that version of her again. She told me she hated who she became when she drank. We set new boundaries. No more alcohol at social events. Minimal parties. Frequent check-ins when she traveled. I asked for transparency. She promised full honesty. I wanted to believe that love could fix it, that we had caught the fall early enough to stop the damage, that if we just kept choosing each other, that would be enough. But now, looking back, I think that night was the warning I should have listened to. Not just for what happened, but for how easily she broke her own promise, and how easily I let her. It was a Thursday in late March when Liana brought it up, casual, like she was asking if I wanted takeout. "Hey, Tasha's turning 35 next month," she said, kicking off her shoes and setting her toad on the kitchen island. "She's doing this goddess weekend thing out at her friend's estate in Lyons. It's supposed to be, like, super empowering." I was rinsing off rice for dinner, barely processing. Empowering how? Liana smiled, but didn't quite meet my eyes. Just a bunch of women getting together, celebrating. Femininity. Expression. There's a pool party and a few dance workshops. Sound baths. Stuff like that. I dried my hands and turned toward her. "Is there drinking?" She paused just long enough. "I mean, yeah, there's an open bar at the pool thing. But that's not the point. It's more about community." That word again. Community. It had become her justification for everything lately. Group trips, late nights, impulsive retreats with women she'd only known a few months. I nodded slowly. "Sounds like something you might have liked 5 years ago." She shrugged, pulling out her phone. "Honestly, I don't think it's my thing anymore. Too much stimulation, too much expectation to perform. I told Tasha I'm probably not going. I'd rather spend the weekend with you." The words surprised me. Not because they were dramatic. They weren't. But because they came without a fight, without coaxing or compromise. She said it like it was her own conclusion. Like she had outgrown something and was proud of that. I didn't say it out loud, but I felt a flicker of relief. The next couple of weeks passed quietly. Liana was busy with work and yoga. I was knee-deep in a downtown plaza redesign project. Things felt good, even easy. Then came Friday. She met Tasha for lunch, just the two of them. Some new vegetarian place that served beet pasta and cocktails with flower petals in them. I didn't think anything of it. I was in back-to-back meetings anyway. When she got home, something was off. She had that buzz in her, the kind of restless, manic energy she used to carry after being around her old friends. Her movements were faster, her words more layered. I watched her pour a LaCroix into a wine glass and swirl it like champagne. "I was thinking," she said, spinning the glass in her hand. "Maybe I could go to the party, just for the first night. Tasha really wants me there, and it's her birthday after all." I kept my face still. "I thought you said it wasn't your scene anymore." "I mean, it's not," she said quickly. "But maybe it's different now. Maybe I'm different. I wouldn't drink or anything, obviously. And I wouldn't stay long." "Actually," she hesitated. "You could come with me." That caught me off guard. "You want me to go to a goddess weekend?" "I think it'd be good for us," she said, almost too fast. "Show them we're strong, evolved, whatever." But her eyes gave her away. She wasn't inviting me to bond. She was covering herself, trying to make her attendance more palatable, to soften it. If I said yes, she could blame me later. If I said no, she'd say I had my chance. Right then, I knew something had shifted again. And this time, it wasn't subtle. I told her no gently. Thoughtful tone. Open body language. Careful words. I really don't think I have it in me to go, Liana. Not this weekend. Work's been just a lot. And honestly, I'm still tired. From everything. She stood across from me in the living room, arms folded loosely, a tight smile on her lips. So you don't want to go, she said flatly. I'm not saying that to be difficult, I said, trying to keep the air calm. I'm saying it because I've hit a wall. I was thinking, maybe we could do something else instead? Like a nice dinner with Tasha after her birthday. Something smaller. More grounded. Liana let out a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. So, what you're saying is, you want me to stay home too. Because you don't feel like going. I paused. That's not what I'm saying. I stopped myself before going down the wrong path. I thought we were trying to rebuild trust. Set some boundaries. That was the agreement after Arizona, wasn't it? And just like that, the temperature in the room dropped. She shifted her weight and looked past me, like she was deciding how honest she wanted to be. You always do this, she said finally. You make it sound like you're just sharing your feelings, but really you're trying to steer the whole ship. Every time I try to do something for myself, really for me, it turns into this negotiation. I blinked. Negotiation? I'm trying to protect what we built. No, she snapped. You're trying to control it. Control me. My hands went up, instinctively defensive. That's not fair. Isn't it? She said, her voice sharper now. You don't want me around Tasha. You don't trust me to be responsible. And you clearly don't believe I can make decisions for myself. That's not what this is about. She stepped toward me. Then what is it about, Marcus? Really? Because it feels like you're using the past to justify why I should just live under house arrest. So I don't upset you. I stood in the middle of the room, the words catching in my throat. It's about not watching you spiral again. It's about not going through that thing where I see you change right in front of me, and then I have to be the one to pick up the emotional mess afterward. I can't keep doing that. She crossed her arms tighter. You're saying you don't trust me. I'm saying I'm scared, I said. I'm scared because we worked hard to get back on stable ground, and this party, it feels like a test. And if you go, after everything we agreed on, it's going to feel like you chose something else over us. Silence. Then she let out a cold breath, slow and deliberate. If you think me going to a birthday party is a betrayal, Marcus, then we've got way bigger problems than a bar with floaties and candles. She turned away and walked toward the kitchen. You know what I think? I think you like it when I feel small. It makes you feel safe. That one stung. Deep. I'm asking you not to go, I said, voice low. Not because I want to win, but because I'm asking. As your husband. She didn't look at me when she answered. Just kept her back turned as she said, if that's really how you see it, maybe this marriage isn't as solid as you think. We didn't speak the rest of the night. She slept in our bed. I slept in the guest room. And for the first time in years, I didn't dream of anything at all. The next morning was quiet in that weird, heavy way. Liana and I moved through the apartment like polite strangers, sharing space, but not presence. She made coffee without asking if I wanted any. I didn't ask her what her day looked like. We both pretended to be too busy to care. By noon, I needed air. I texted Josh, my old college roommate who lived 20 minutes away, and asked if I could come by for a bit. He responded right away with a thumbs up and a joke about rescuing me from domestic tension. I left without saying goodbye. I sat on Josh's porch most of the afternoon, drinking iced tea and pretending to be interested in his deck renovation. I didn't mention the fight. I didn't mention the party. He didn't push. Around 5 o'clock, my phone buzzed. Liana, hey, Olivia's going through a breakup. I'm with her now. Might stay over if she needs. A second message came before I had time to answer. Liana, don't worry, I'll keep you posted. My first instinct was to believe her. She had a sister, Olivia. Olivia had a boyfriend, an on-again, off-again mess of a relationship that Liana hated. It was believable, but the timing felt rehearsed. Too convenient. Too clean. I stared at the message longer than I probably should have. Josh must have noticed my expression shift. Everything cool, he asked. I nodded, even though it wasn't really a question. By the time I got home, it was almost 8. The apartment was dark, Liana gone. Her side of the closet looked like she'd packed for more than one night. Makeup bag missing, 2 dresses, and a set of heels I hadn't seen in months. I tried to let it go. I really did. But something inside me, that low, warning hum that starts in your chest and builds in your spine, kept growing. It wasn't the message itself. It was how it read, like a preemptive excuse. Like she'd written it before she ever left the house. At 9:30, I sent her a text. Me. Hope Olivia's okay. Let me know if you two need anything. Love you. No reply. By 10:15, I called. Straight to voicemail. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the tile backsplash we picked out together during lockdown. The same one she'd fought for because it felt more organic. I listened to the silence and knew. Not from proof, not from any one detail, but the way your gut knows a storm is already overhead, even if you haven't heard thunder yet. I looked at the front door, then at the little key hook where hers still hung. She wasn't with Olivia, and I think part of me already knew exactly where she was. I sat at the dining table long after the kitchen lights had dimmed. The clock read 10:38. No texts, no calls, just the hum of the fridge and that persistent ache that comes when your body knows something your mind hasn't said out loud yet. I opened the app. A year ago, after Liana's car was broken into downtown, I installed a tracker on her vehicle, mostly for safety. She knew it was there. We agreed it made sense. Peace of mind, I remember saying. I tapped the location icon. The little dot blinked steady and bright, parked off a winding road outside Lyons, 2 towns north. I zoomed in. The address was familiar, even though I'd never been there. Tasha's friend's estate. I remembered the flyer now, Goddess Weekend. Freedom. Indulgence. Sensual dance night. My chest went tight. I could have stayed home. I could have made excuses. But something in me refused. I stood, grabbed my keys, and walked out without thinking. The drive was quiet. Dark trees zipped past like shadows as I made my way up into the hills. Somewhere along the way, my knuckles went white on the steering wheel. When I reached the estate, the party was already pulsing. The gate was open. Cars lined the gravel driveway, some crooked, like people had abandoned them mid-moment. The house ahead glowed soft pink from within. Bass vibrated through the ground like a heartbeat. I parked half a block away and walked the rest. No one stopped me at the door. I just slipped in, unnoticed, invisible. Inside, it smelled like incense, tequila, and rosewater. Bodies floated in the pool under string lights. Laughter echoed through the air, messy and loose. A woman brushed past me in a robe and bikini, holding a drink the color of melted popsicles. Bathrooms upstairs, hon. She mumbled with a smile, as if I belonged there. I nodded, but I wasn't looking for a bathroom. I asked someone where Tasha was. Got a vague wave toward the stairs. Probably upstairs with the birthday circle. The hallway was quieter, the music distant now, like it belonged to someone else's night. I passed 2 open doors. A guy and girl giggling on the floor in one. Another room lit entirely by candles and cushions. And then I heard it. Laughter. Familiar. Rising and sloppy. Her laugh. The one she used when she'd had too much. Not joyful, but weightless. The door was closed. Muffled music seeped through. I stood there, frozen, hand inches from the knob, my pulse in my ears. Then I opened it. The smell hit first. Wine, sweat, perfume. There she was, Liana, my wife, on a chaise lounge, half-dressed, straddling a man I didn't know. Some guy with a beard and a shirt unbuttoned to his stomach. He had both hands on her waist. She was giggling, swaying, whispering something into his neck. She didn't even see me. Neither of them did. They were too far gone. I stood there, staring, my feet like stone. Then Liana looked up, slow, bleary-eyed, and her face changed. Not panic, not shame, just confusion, like she couldn't process me being real. Marcus? Her voice cracked on the second syllable. I didn't answer. I didn't yell. I just closed the door behind me and walked away. I don't remember the drive home. I know I made it. I know the roads were dark, the dashboard lights soft and blue. I must have taken the back route, because I don't recall any traffic. But I couldn't tell you a single thing I passed. My mind was a fog, not anger, not panic, just silence. Numb, heavy silence. When I opened the apartment door, everything looked exactly the same. Her slippers were still by the couch. The lavender candle on the coffee table had burned down to the nub. The mug she used for green tea was still in the sink from the night before. It was like walking into a set built for a show I didn't believe in anymore. I went straight to the guest room. Didn't even turn on the lights. I lay on the bed fully clothed, eyes open, staring at the ceiling fan as it turned in slow, creaky circles. At 1:13 a.m., I heard her key in the lock. Soft footsteps. The door clicked shut behind her. A pause. Then the unmistakable sound of heels quietly removed, jacket unzipped. She tiptoed down the hall like I was asleep, and she was trying to be respectful. Like she wasn't carrying the weight of what she'd just done. I listened to the rustle of fabric. The bathroom faucet. The faint spritz of perfume. Trying to mask the night with peppermint mouthwash and moisturizer. Then, a gentle knock on the guest room door. Marcus. Her voice was low, careful. I didn't respond. She opened the door anyway. Stood there in her satin robe, hair brushed, lips bare, mascara smudged just slightly beneath one eye. I didn't think you'd still be up, she said, trying for lightness. I sat up slowly. No expression, no greeting. Her smile faltered. I didn't end up staying at Olivia's after all. Things got weird. She actually didn't want company. So I left. I just looked at her. She swallowed. I ended up stopping by Tasha's. But it wasn't a big deal. People were still there. It was just music, you know? Nothing serious. Just a few drinks. I wasn't planning to stay long. A pause. I might have had too much wine, she added softly. I didn't mean to. Still, I didn't speak. She stepped closer, eyes pleading now. Marcus, listen. I know how it looked. But it wasn't what you think. Nothing happened. I swear. It was just a moment. A stupid, meaningless, stupid moment. Her voice cracked. I was drunk, and he was just some guy. I don't even know his name. It didn't mean anything. I let the silence stretch out long enough for her to shift on her feet. Then I spoke. Calm. Steady. Final. It's over. She blinked. What? I'm done. Her mouth opened like she had more to say, but nothing came out. You didn't just lie, I said, voice still low. You looked me in the eye and chose the one thing I asked you not to do. Again. Tears welled up. It wasn't like that. I shook my head. Don't try to rewrite it. She sank into the doorway like her legs were giving out. I love you. I nodded once. I know. And that was it. No screaming. No throwing things. No speech. Just truth. And truth didn't need volume to end something. It just needed to be said. I moved out the following Tuesday. No big fight. No final plea. Just a morning where I packed 2 suitcases, my laptop, and a few framed drawings I'd done for our apartment. I left my keys on the counter. She wasn't home. That night, I checked into a short-term rental on the east side of town. Nothing fancy. Just quiet. Just mine. By Thursday, the messages started. Liana, can we please talk? Then another. Liana, I didn't sleep. I can't eat. Please. Then came the emails. Long, emotional essays about mistakes and growth and forgiveness. Links to couples therapists. Lists of ways she could change. Promises. Apologies. And voicemails. I messed up, Marcus. I know that. But I need you to understand. I was scared. I felt trapped. And I wanted to feel free for just one night. I didn't mean to hurt you. I played them once, then deleted them all. Not out of spite, but because I already knew the pattern. She didn't regret the lie. She regretted getting caught in it. What broke us wasn't the wine or the flirtation or even the stranger in the dim room. It was that she stood in front of me, weeks ago, looked me in the eyes, and said, I won't do this again. And then she did, without hesitation. One night, about a week after I left, Tasha messaged me, of all people. Tasha, I'm not picking sides, but I thought you should know, the guy from the party? Liana didn't even know his name. He wasn't a friend, just some random +1. She met him that night. That hit harder than I expected. It would have almost hurt less if she had been building something secretly, an affair with weight. A second life, a double narrative. But no, it was just chaos. A stranger. A moment with 0 history and 0 future. She bet everything we had on a meaningless hour. And that, somehow, made it worse. I finalized the divorce paperwork the following month. No drama. No fighting over the apartment or the bookshelves or the cat she never really wanted but kept anyway. I didn't ask for anything but peace. She sent one last message the day the documents were filed. Liana, you didn't even give us a chance to fix it. I never answered. Because we'd already fixed it once. And what she did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And choices like that, they say everything. She chose a party over our trust. She chose attention over honesty. And when she thought I wasn't watching, she chose to become someone I didn't even recognize. That was the moment things became clear for me. Not when I saw her on that chaise lounge. Not when she came home with the lies. Not even when she cried in the doorway. It was the clarity that came afterward, in the stillness, in the silence, when I realized I didn't lose the woman I loved. She had already left long before I did. All I did was finally follow. It was late October when I finally made it out to Oregon. I'd been putting the trip off for months. Always another deadline, another excuse. But something shifted once the final paperwork cleared. I packed a duffel, drove west, and didn't tell anyone where I was going. 3 days into the trail, I stood at the edge of a lake I couldn't name. Pines framed the water like cathedral pillars. My phone had no signal. I hadn't spoken a full sentence aloud since the ranger station. It was the kind of silence I used to crave, the kind I once shared with Liana before the world started pulling us in different directions. I sat on a rock, pulled out my phone, and stared at the last photo I hadn't deleted. It was from a vacation in 2020, some coastal town in California. She was smiling in the shot, wind in her hair, hand curled around mine. We were happy then, or maybe just pretending well. Either way, it was a good picture. I tapped the trash icon. The phone asked me if I was sure. I was. I watched the image disappear. No fanfare. No music swelling in the background. Just a screen returning to black. And that was it. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. Just light. My phone buzzed. A text from Jonah, a guy in the office I hadn't seen since the divorce went public. Jonah, back in town soon. There's a small networking mixer Thursday. Casual, no pressure. You should come. I stared at it for a moment. Normally, I would have ignored it, or made up a reason to pass. But I found myself typing before I had time to overthink it. Me, yeah, I'll be there. Not because I wanted to impress anyone. Not because I needed to prove I'd moved on. But because I wanted to show up. Not for her. Not for closure. For myself. And for the first time in a long, long time, that felt like enough.